foot. I'm all the way up against the table now. Raise all three parts, foot, leg, and hips, and relax. I then grab her hand to help her up, and we now have an even deeper stretch. Tiffany can have a seat on the table if she wants. With that additional aspect of driving, I get my foot right around her ankle and I'm shin to shin with her. Some people aren't ready for that level. The quad gets really deep stretches, and some people have tight quads, so you have to be very careful on who is ready for them. Generally speaking, if someone can get their foot all the way to the ground while they're doing the first version of the hip flexor stretch, they are ready for the quad addition. If they can't get all the way to the ground, they're probably not ready for the quad addition. You adjust accordingly to what they're ready for and what they're capable of. But remember, be gentle and be easy. Okay. Next, we're going to have some piriformis. What you may think of as glutes, there's actually a muscle that runs from the middle of your tailbone all the way out to your hips, known as your piriformis. There's actually a group of muscles. They're your external rotators. So they rotate outward. Okay, they get tight. We tend to call them our glute muscles, and they can be considered that, so to speak, but they're not necessarily what your gluteus maximus is, that big muscle on back. Okay, so I'm going to have Tiffany all the way on the table. You don't want to be hanging off. Now, the key with this one is, remember, be professional and understand how you need to move. The first thing that most people do is when I say, hey, we're going to stretch, as they bring their knee, they tend to rotate over and turn their hip down. Okay? So they tend to bring up, and I'm already twisting. That limits our capability. Okay? So Tiffany's going to slowly bring her knee up as she twists her hip into the table. So go. Now turn your hip down. Keep turning. That's what most people get into. See how she's already twisted over? Well, that doesn't give me any stretching capability because she's already hanging off the table because she turned her hip and pelvis. It's not what we want. I will return her to the starting position. So make sure that when you start, your pelvis is lined up on the table and flat. You don't want one side twisted. Okay? That's the first thing to understand when doing piriformis. The second thing you want to understand is hip placement, or hand placement on the hip. I want her to be relaxed. I don't want her to have to hold herself. So if I'm doing it on the ground, everything applies the same. If I'm doing it on the table, she can hold herself. Okay? So what I'll do is, I'm just going to run through this real quick just to show you the hand placement. So here, turn her. Already limited because we're doing it correctly. Now, where does this hand go to help support her? Right here? No, unprofessional. Back of the lower back? Absolutely. She can fall back in. My hand is supporting her upper body weight, her midsection, her trunk, her core. Here, unprofessional, nice and easy. Okay, so I can relax her, she can actually fall, and my weight will keep her from falling over that way. Now, I'm going to move her back into the starting position and come over here for 1 second so that you understand a secondary tip. People are fearful of falling. So if she's here, I put my leg right up against this table. So if you're here, you can see my leg right here, right up against that table. So now I move her here and I move her here. My leg and my body weight will keep her from falling. There's no way she should be able to fall through me if I'm doing my job properly. So notice how when I do that, my feet are staggered. My butt is a little bit dropped. That keeps me balanced. Now, if I were standing up, being unprofessional, leaning over the table like so, she could possibly fall out. I've never seen it happen in my personal experience, but let's say it's a possibility. We want to mitigate risk by eliminating those possibilities. So by staggering my stance, By dropping my hips, by controlling her body weight, I control and mitigate. What to do with this hand? Where do they feel most comfortable? Most people just put it by their side, and that works. From here now, we have two stretches, okay? The first is more piriformis. So Tiffany's gonna grab on there. I'm gonna remind her, you can grab with that hand, place this hand where you feel most comfortable. I'm gonna take my fingertips and put them right behind her knee and pull her into position. I then take her foot. We tend to be most comfortable right there up against the knee. There's actually a little groove that the arch of the foot fits perfectly into the knee. Most people are pretty good there. If they can bring it up a little higher, great. If they can't, that's fine too. I'm just saying that's where most people tend to be comfortable. Now I'm going to take this hand and place it just on the outside of her knee. Okay, I'm actually a little bit on the calf and a little bit on the quad. Okay, I then pull her towards me. Remember, pull, not push. I can easily do this drill from the other side, right? I could be here. Now I'm pushing her away. Okay, first of all, pull, not push. Gentle, not violent. But if I push her away and she rolls, what's going to prevent her from falling? Not my body structure, because I'm on the wrong side. Okay, now I can prevent her from falling. All right, so she's just going to be right here. I place my hand in the small of her back, and we're going to do a little contract, relax. So she's going to push. I will remind her by fingertips, say right here, raise your knee, and she'll push into my hand. She'll push into my hand and relax. I can then go a little bit farther and push into my hand and relax, and push into my hand and relax. You'll notice with this one, they get significantly farther the second and third stretches. We tend to feel a little awkward on the first one because we're not used to being in that position. Because remember, we tend to tilt our pelvis before we even start. So the second and third ones get very deep movement. Okay, remember, always passively return them. I will do the returning to the starting position. Okay. Also, side note, it tends to happen where people will get a little bit of a contraction or a pop, like a chiropractic adjustment as they rotate. It's actually a partial chiropractic adjustment position. I'm not saying you're a chiropractor, and I'm not saying you're doing an adjustment, but they might hear that pop. You might actually hear it. Should be okay. It's just natural. Okay. So next, we just stretched out the piriformis a little bit. Now, that's when the foot is down here. If I take the foot, I drop it like so. I'm actually turning it down even more. So now the knee is higher than the foot, and the foot is in front of this side of her body. And we do the same thing, except I rotate. I'm going to pull her knee towards me and her foot downward. Now she's going to get a little bit more of the upper portion of the glutes and the lower back rotator. So I'm going to pull towards me. We're going to do a hold relax on this. I'm going to take, I have my hand underneath her ankle for support. If here, that's fine, but you have to hold her ankle up. You don't want her ankle being the body weight portion of her body, meaning having to support the body weight. Okay, so right here, her ankle can fall into my hand gently and slowly and easily. I'm going to pull in and rotate down and relax and pull in and drop down and relax. One more time, pull in, drop down. Okay, I then bring her back to the mid position and then back to the starting position. I would then switch sides to get the other side, move her hand out of the way, have her grab, and we're going to demonstrate the first one from this side. Right there into the knee, hand on top, right there. Remember, my body weight is right here, and push and relax. Watch how much farther she gets, and push and relax, and push and relax. Then hand underneath to help her return, hand underneath to help her return. Remember, I want to be as nice as possible. I'm then going to take one hand and pull her up. so that she doesn't have to do the sitting up. Okay? All right, next, we have hamstrings. Okay? So she's going to lie on her back again. We generally want to allow people to get a chance to just kind of